If you're still driving around a 10 to 15 plus year old vehicle, I understand if you're a little bored or outdated on the latest technology when it comes to infotainment. Well, let me tell you, if you're tired of that factory radio that came in your 2010 or 2015 Toyota Prius, in this video I'm going to be installing an Android-based head unit made by JOYING. Now this is a full Android-based system with a massive 12.3-inch display, wireless car, Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, HDMI input and output, built-in GPS, SIM card support, and a Qualcomm 8-core processor. JOYING actually sent this unit out to me, but as always in this channel, I'll be providing honest feedback, and that's after I install it and we start using it. So why don't I grab the camera, get in the car, and start getting rid of this factory old head unit. Alright, so you can see this is the shipping box it came in. Very well packaged. We got some instructions on the automotive navigation system, an installation guide. Now upon looking at this installation guide, it looks to be pretty generic to Toyota vehicles. This doesn't point out, or at least the images that they use, they're not Prius specific. And this is the unit itself right here. You can see it comes with a trim bezel, and you can see that the way the unit is fastened onto this is by using, I guess they used 4 Phillips head screws. You got the main harness goes into here. Moving along here, we have what it seems to be the rest of the unit itself, along with all the ports in the back. And they did a good job using plastic covers to cover all the outlets here. We have, I guess, a microphone. We have a USB to, I guess, from male to female USB cord. The entire harness here. We also have, this is a 4G antenna, I believe. And we have another antenna, and I don't know what this one is. It's definitely the same. They sent out 2 4G antennas by accident. I don't know if that was by accident or on purpose. I'm not too sure. We have a GPS antenna here. And then we have an AR video in. And a total of 2 of these USB, male and female. Alright, let's move on the camera inside the car and let's get started. Alright, so now that we're inside the car, I'm just going to go over real quick before we start taking things apart. It's very important to know which style radio comes in your Prius before you actually make the order in the Amazon page, because there's about 5 different options that the seller JOYING is providing you with. Now notice how this is, and this is important to know, this car that I'm working right now is a 2013 Toyota Prius 3, and it's important to know the trim model, and that's because most of the different trims come with different options. For example, this one comes with no JBL sound system, and that's important to know because depending if you have JBL or not, then you have to order the correct one. Now it does have a backup camera. I'm going to start the vehicle right now, and you can see that if I go on reverse, it has a factory backup camera. Now one other option that this vehicle has, or I should say maybe 2 other options, are steering wheel controls, which includes the volume up, volume down, and switching the tracks. It also has voice recognition, as well as call hang up and call answer. So if I do the voice command, you can see,
pardon?
Call Tench.
There are no phones set up to make calls.
And you see this is very outdated, and the reason for that is because my phone is not connected right now. So you see if I go to Bluetooth, you can see the reason why I'm replacing this. Even the Bluetooth doesn't connect right away, and even if it's not connected or hasn't been connected for a while, when I go to Bluetooth, it takes a while to actually let me know that there's no phone connected. As you can go through it, you know, all this stuff is very outdated. This is from 2013. All this stuff is obsolete. It doesn't do any justice having this here, and the unit is very sluggish. So I just wanted to let you know to make sure you order the right one. This has a factory backup camera and the steering wheel controls. JOYING did confirm that the unit fully supports factory steering wheel controls using the harness that they included. Now you're gonna see that they have options C and D, which also support backup cameras without the additional adapters. They say that the installation is supposed to be completely plug and play with like no wire cutting. They also said that the JBL equipped Priuses are also supported. This is not JBL once again, and that every time that you have to do a firmware update on the new unit, they're available through their website. The unit itself is going to have the ability to connect to Wi-Fi at your home or wherever it is that you're near of, and wireless CarPlay support automatic reconnection, which means that every time you get into the car, as long as you have your phone with you, the wireless CarPlay should be able to reconnect to your phone right away. Now, while I'll proceed with the install, I'm going to have right here on the screen the specifications of the unit itself so that you're aware of what you're getting. As I feel that there's something necessary to mention, I will go ahead and mention that. But as of right now, I'm just going to start removing all these parts and start working to install a new unit. So first and foremost, I just remove my shifter knob. Okay, so here's the largest trim bezel I just removed. I'm gonna put that on the side. Okay, I also just popped this panel where the push start button is, but I'm just gonna leave it hanging. I don't see the need to unplug it. And then I can see that the entire radio is held down with 4 10mm bolts. So we're gonna remove those and take the old radio out. I'm gonna pull this out. And I can see it's held down in the back. Okay, so here's the factory radio. There's definitely a lot of plugs in the back. This one right here, I unplugged it even though I shouldn't have. Looks like this is an extension box for this radio itself. We will not be using that, so we just go ahead and put this on the side. Alright, so now we're going to proceed with setting this up so that we could attach it onto the main unit, or the main screen I should say, because this right here is the internals, like where the processor and everything is. So now there's 2 installation methods here. I don't know which one to proceed with. It says the first one or the second one. I'm thinking I'm going to go with the first one. It might just be a trial and error type of thing, but I'm gonna go with the first one because it looks like they supplied this bracket and also these 2 with some screws. And I think that if I do it this way, it allows me to use the factory brackets from the old unit, which are these right here, one on each side, another one over here. And then I think what that'll do, it'll give you more stabilization on the car so it's not like so flimsy. I think the other way, the second way, from what I could guess, you don't use that. I don't think it doesn't show anywhere that you have to use that. So I'm going to do it using the first installation method. This comes with a plastic wrap around it. I'm going to remove that because you don't want to leave that on there. It gets pretty hot back there, so you want to prevent anything like this melting or causing some kind of disturbance in the back. Alright, so it's got 4 holes here, 4 holes here, 4, 4, 3, and 3. And same. I don't think there's a right way to do this, so let's just go ahead and place it on there. Alright, the only holes that line up are the ones on the top, which are 1, 2, 3, and 4. So top and bottom. Actually, I just noticed something. It says if you need to insert an SD card right here, please do so now before proceeding. So it's got a TF card and a SIM card. And a SIM card is because this one you could actually you could get a SIM card from your wireless carrier that provides you with data, and then this thing, in order to connect to the internet, it won't need to use your cell phone. So if it has its own dedicated SIM card, that's, I guess, wireless data. And the SD card will be going in here. So I guess this is why they warned you, hey, go ahead and put that in there now, because then if you fasten this in there, you won't be able to get to that unless you take it all apart again. I won't be doing that. I'll just go ahead and proceed with their install. Now you'll be using the CM4x4x7, just like it says on here. Okay, so after playing with this for a while, I finally got to figure it out. I wasn't sure how the factory bracket from the radio was going to fit onto here. So first thing you got to make sure is that, I guess, I will say that the fan faces to the top, right? So this is the back of the radio, and this is the right bracket, and you know this because it says there's an R right there, and there's an R on your factory bracket from the radio you took off. Okay, this was fastened to the factory radio with 4 bolts. However, you know, the size of this thing matters, so I'm gonna do it with 3 bolts, 1, 2, and 3, and that should be good enough to hold this. And then you just repeat the same process for the left side. Okay, it doesn't have to be super tight, just enough to that the brackets are fastened on there. Okay, so I have placed the unit here just for demoing it, how it looks and how it fits. You see with the factory bracket, you can see the holes line up just perfect, and then the unit itself looks pretty straight. You gotta remember that this unit is gonna be a little bit bigger or totally different than the factory one, so don't worry about the angle so much if it looks awkward. And if I do end up having trouble with it, I'll make sure that I'll reposition it some other way, though I think I'm okay with that. And this is the front, so the front will connect to the big screen itself. And now what we have to worry about is the actual electronic parts. So I just wanted to get the mechanics out the way, and now what we're going to do is going to take this out, bring it to the bench, and follow the next steps. Alright, so on second thought, I would have thought that these clips, this is everything that came with the, or at least almost everything that came inside the box, and I would have thought that I had to install these clips onto the back of our unit right here, as you can see. And then once you have that installed, then these clips, which are very Toyota like, these are actually all over the place on any type of Toyota interior that you work in. So this will obviously will clip in to this, but turns out I'm not going to need that as per the generic instructions here, because since this head unit is for a Prius and it already comes, the screen already comes attached to this big bezel in here. So what ends up happening is, if the screen that you're going to use would automatically attach to the, let's call this the brains of the head unit, right? Then it will go right into here. But since I don't have that set up, I already have my screen, this screen right here, it's already screwed in to this big trim bezel piece. So therefore I don't need these pieces right here, nor do I need the screws. So we're gonna put that on the side for now, and I'm just gonna concentrate on the electrical part of the install. So now, aside from the main harness that will connect to the back of our brains here, which goes in here, I have everything that was supplied to me right here. And then I figure it's easier to install my harness into the car first and then figure out what's left over to install here. So now I already went and did that, and what's left is this cable right here. So this is the only USB that will connect to the back right here. So we're gonna connect that right here right now. Then I see that we have this harness. It says AR video in, and then CDD 12V out, so 12 volts out. I'm gonna plug that into here because this is looking at the plug. That's the only area where it's gonna fit in. It's gonna plug into here. And there it is. Make sure you hear that click connected in to make sure it's nice and secured. You don't want to lose connections. Now, I also have my microphone, which I'll be installing that probably last, and that goes in here where it says mic, right in here. I also have the GPS antenna, and this one, it's labeled in here. GPS is the only one, the only port where it could actually fit in. So I'll be installing that in there as well. This is one of the things that confuses me because yes, this is a long wire. So I know that I can't place this anywhere close to this. It has to be outside of the dashboard area. And 4G is telling me that, for example, I can see that this thing has Wi-Fi, BT, Wi-Fi 6, 4G minus, 4G plus, then here's GPS. So we already ruled out that the GPS goes here. Then 4G, does this go into 4G plus or 4G minus? I don't know, I gotta figure that out. But then I also have a 5G, and I also have 5G plus, 5G minus, and then 5G. So this is a little bit confusing here. For my particular scenario, it's not going to be something where it's going to leave me stuck because I will not be using 5G. So if I'm not using a SIM card for internet, I'm thinking I don't have to install this 5 or 4G antenna. I think I just have to install the one that says Wi-Fi, this one right here, so that I connect to the Wi-Fi while I'm home. You see, I got another 5G Wi-Fi antenna here, a second one. So what does that make this one? A third one? Yeah. So I got 3 5G Wi-Fi antennas. Then I have one 4G antenna here and another 4G antenna over here. So this is confusing to me. I think what I'm just gonna do is just gonna install one that says 5G Wi-Fi, and that's it. So I've already took it out of the bag. I'm gonna leave it here, and that's what I'll do. And I'll be saving this in the package in case something goes wrong later. Then maybe something that I didn't plug in. But again, I think that has to do with the internet connection where you're not using Wi-Fi. I also got 2 of these, like I mentioned earlier. Now this is pretty long. I'm believing that this is something where you plug it into the USB right here and then run it outside, maybe into your glove box or wherever you want, so you could plug in a USB drive with your songs, your favorite songs, and then you could play music from there. And I'm thinking that's the reason why they gave you 2 of them, because one is pretty lengthy and the other one is probably maybe if you want to plug something else in. So because you do have both of the ports right here. So now that I'm looking at it, I don't think these are extras. I think this meant to come with it. I'm still confused as to why 2 5G Wi-Fi antennas and 2 4G antennas. I don't know. If you know the answer to that, leave it in the comments below so that way you can help out the other viewers. But at the same time, I'm not going to be using every option. So what I'm going to proceed with now is I've already plugged these 2 in. I believe the next one I need is the GPS and then the microphone. But the reason why I haven't installed these on here is because I'll have to run this outside of the dash somewhere and then feed the wire in so that it could plug in into the back of the unit. Same thing with the microphone. I have to see where I locate it in the car and then feed the wire into the back of the unit again. So these 2 I'm going to work on right now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the harness, how I connected everything, and then we'll move into installing the brains. Gone ahead and routed my GPS antenna right here, as you can see. And I routed this pretty easily. I went here, let me show you where I started. So for now, I'm actually saying for now, but I think it'll be just fine there. I didn't want to lift the whole dash up and bring it all the way to the front over there. So for now, what I did is I just took the vent, the AC vent off right here, and it just pops out. I popped this off without unscrewing it from the bottom. And then I took and I just lifted this one piece right here, and I took the wire and I routed it right in here, as you can see in this opening, and then I routed it behind, or like right above the steering wheel. And I apologize if the lighting is poor, but I'm trying to do the best I can here with poor lighting, or too much excessive lighting actually. and I routed it underneath, or I tucked it right behind over here, as you can see, right with my fingers pointing, and it came right in here. It literally took me 3 minutes. Again, you could place it wherever you want. I just wanted to place it right there, and I didn't actually remove the adhesive off of it. It's still sitting like that, and the reason for that is in case that it does start intermittently fail, then I'll move it somewhere else. I don't think I'll have a problem there, but when I know it works for good and works for sure, then I'll take the adhesive off and I'll place it in here, and yeah, that'll be all. Now check this out. This is the entire harness that came with the unit. I know this is probably the most fearful part of if you're doing this install for the first time, but I promise you, once you start doing the things that you know how to do and leave the hard ones for last, believe me, you'll believe in yourself and you know you could do this, because I know that once you open a package and you see wires and all kinds of pieces everywhere and parts, you kind of tend to get like annoyed and overwhelmed because you just want to get this thing working. But believe me, if you follow the steps I took, if I wasn't filming right now, the radio will probably be working. But let me show you. So everything plugged in besides this one, right? This is the harness that comes with the unit. So this one right here, I did not plug anywhere. However, I started off with this one right here, and then I moved on to this one, and then this one, and then this one. Then you have this one right here. And just to give you if you're doing this for the first time, you've never done this before, every connector from the factory of the car is not just going to plug into any of these connectors. There's no way. The male connector is designed specifically for a female connector, but not just any female connector. It has to be the same exact female connector it intends to go to. So there's no way you could get these confused. This was just a little bit of a guessing part here. So I have 1 and 2 male camera wires that are labeled camera. This one right here and this one right here, and this one's labeled rear view camera. So I don't know if I'm doing this part right, but I'm plugging this one in right here, just the way I had it. And if it doesn't work for the rear view camera, then I just go ahead and swap it out and see what that leads me to. This is the part where I would have wished that they would have specific Prius instructions for it, but they don't. And this is the main harness that plugs into the back of our radio, along with this one right over here, which will be the antenna for the AM FM. And this one you just leave alone. You just leave unplugged and you don't plug it anywhere. Now I'm ready to bring our brains in here, the main head unit. I'm going to start by plugging this GPS antenna in. Alright, so here are the brains, so the unit, right? So the main unit, as I explained earlier, I plugged this one in, this one in. This is where the video camera is going to go into. Now, one of the things that I noticed is it says do not mount antenna on the chassis. They don't want the antenna mounted here, as it will cause severe signal degradation. So it says X GPS antenna, and then it says BT for Bluetooth / Wi-Fi / 4G antenna. So this is my 5G Wi-Fi antenna, and I don't know where they want this mounted at. Look at the length of the wire. So I don't see any other choice but plugging it in and placing it right in here. I know that seems non-practical, but I don't have any other choice, because the other 4G antenna does have a longer wire that you could place it somewhere else. This one's short. So unless this is a mistake where they meant to write Bluetooth or 4G antenna only, but they included the Wi-Fi in there. So I'm gonna place this one and I'm gonna plug it. This says Wi-Fi 6, 5G. So I'm gonna go right in here where it says Wi-Fi 5G. Okay, now that that's threaded in nice and tight, okay, I'm gonna remove the 3M tape and I'm gonna place it on here. Alright guys, this is how I did it. That's how I placed it on there. Alright, so now let's plug in the main harness. That'll be this one right here. Again, make sure you hear that click. I'm gonna proceed with the radio antenna. That's 2. Now this one will be the video camera male side to the female side, this one, and this I believe is just being left unplugged. And then we have this one left right here, which will be, should be, I know there was just 2 from my factory harness. There was 3 of these that I didn't know where it goes, but now that I'm looking at it, this one right here plugs into this one. And again, these are all different, so there's no way you could confuse them. There you go, you heard that click. And then we have these 2 left, and I don't believe they plug into anything. If I'm not mistaken, I will have to look at the electrical wiring diagram for a 2013 Prius, but I believe this one's for XM, and this one I think also has to do with XM radio. So we're just gonna leave those and not plug it into anything. They won't hurt anything if you just leave them off. And then this is the only one, this is the only connector, female connector, that came with the harness that we're not going to plug into anything. I believe probably it's a universal harness for another car. Maybe this is for like a, I don't know, a RAV4 or something like that. Another Toyota model, but who knows which one. And I'm going to install this USB cable, and I'm just going to do 1, not 2. You just never know. So I'm going to leave. So I put 1 in there. So now I'm gonna route this towards the back to come out inside there or somewhere else, but I'm not worried about that just yet. For now, let's just test this and see if it works. So I don't want to plug anything in just yet. I just want to plug the main screen onto here and see what I get. Alright, so here's the main screen, and this is the rainbow plug, or however you call this thing. This will plug into here. One important detail I wanted to point out: make sure that you're using something to cover this up, especially the shifter, because if God forbid this thing falls on here, it'll scratch it up. Worst case scenario, it'll crack it. So just in my case, I'm using a blanket, and I actually folded it, so it's actually pretty nice and thick. So I'm not worried if this thing's gonna fall. So now here's the moment of truth. Let's go ahead and push start. Not starting the car, I'm just gonna hit the accessory twice. Okay, we have power. Alright, so let's test this thing out. So let me go ahead and start the car. Okay, so I'm in ready mode. I'm going in reverse. And no signal. Okay, no signal. Let's swap that AV wire and see what happens. Okay, take 2. Let's try this again. This time we're just gonna start the whole car. Let's go in reverse. And there we go, it's working. Little fuzzy, but it's working. I'm guessing it has nothing to do with the screen, but more like the camera. But it's working. So we got the rear view camera working now. So now let's test the mic. Just gonna shut this off so we don't make a lot of noise here. And let's get some music in here, or some tunes. Whoa. Okay, right away I could hear that the speakers sound great. For copyright purposes, I'm just gonna play it for a few seconds because I don't know if this is copyrighted music or whatnot. So I could tell right away that the speakers, I don't know what volume level it is at, but the speakers sound real good. So we were going to check the volume. Oh, look at that, the volume works again. Yes, so the volume worked. And if we want to go to track, there you go, 1 track down, track up. Okay, so that works perfectly. Alright, so it looks like my steering wheel controls are working, and this other side of the steering does not have to do anything with the unit itself. However, let me log in, let me test the Wi-Fi and stuff like that and see what I could do. All right, so I've been tinkering around with this for probably 35 minutes. What I'm trying to figure out is if I really need to plug in the mic in the back, and I think I'm gonna do it, and here's why. I went into settings. I wanted to pair my phone and make a test phone call to see if the other person can hear me. But all of a sudden it says no available devices. And what I find amazing is that I went through the actual whole Bluetooth connection setup. It paired with my phone. You can see my phone right here. It's saved in there. But then on my phone it's appearing like I have, like this thing is giving out two different names. I'm gonna show you what I mean. So you see right here it says visible as QCOM BTD, and that's what I paired it with on my phone. But also up here it says device name Rocola BT, and that also appears on my phone. So I don't know which device or name I should be pairing it with. I'm very confused about that. I think I'm gonna have to figure out what that is all about. I know that I ended up doing a Bluetooth reset, cleared up some data in there, and it asked me to restart the whole unit. So the whole unit restarted. You know, I ended up pairing the phone again, and now I'm at the point where it's like I can't, my phone won't do anything in the unit. So I don't know what's going on just yet. Also, the only other thing I noticed is that when I hit the on the steering wheel controls right in here, if I press that, you can see that come up on the screen, and it says try saying set a timer for 2 minutes. Nothing happens. But if I hit this microphone, set a timer for 2 minutes.
All right, 2 minutes. Starting now.
And you can see that's working. And I actually logged in with my Google account and I set everything up. But I'm thinking that is a built-in mic that this thing has, because I actually went into settings before. Okay, so right here, if I press on the speaker icon, I could go to mic setting, and you can see it has external gain 1, external gain 2. So I press built-in mic. So if I make sense out of that, it kind of lets me believe that I don't need an external mic. But I'm just gonna plug it in anyways. It's really not that big of a deal. I was just trying to figure out if the unit itself has a mic built in that I could use it, or if the one that's already in the car, it's already a matter of like plugging it in, which it should have went into one of those wires with the harness. So I don't want to confuse you at this point of the video. I'm just gonna go ahead and pause here for you. But what I'll do is I'll take this thing back out, I'll plug in the external mic, and then put everything together, and we'll see where else I'm at. Alright, so this right here is the wire for the mic, and I ended up placing it right in here, and we're gonna give this another try. And this time I'm just gonna fasten everything and get it to the point where it's nice and finished. What I'll do is I'll start playing around with the settings to see if I could get the Bluetooth connected. Then I should be able to make a phone call, and I shouldn't have to worry about a mic, because if I use the built-in mic, or if the built-in mic feature is working, then it won't use the mic that I just plugged in. But if it's not, I'll switch to external mic, and that should work. I see this says BT. I think it stands for Bluetooth, but I don't have an antenna that is labeled Bluetooth. While I know I have extra 2 more of these, maybe one of those goes in there, but as of right now I'm not gonna plug it in there, just because there's no instructions that say that something should be plugged in there. I never actually seen a device that uses an exterior Bluetooth antenna. Usually all Bluetooths are built in, and that's enough to pick up a signal from a Bluetooth device. Alright, so it's been over a good week, say about a week and a half-ish or so, and I've had this installed on there, and it's, believe me, it's great. It has a lot of features built in that I'm still getting used to using it. I think it has 50 watts, if I'm not mistaken, distributing it to each speaker of the car, so this sounds incredible. And just how good it sounds and how good it looks and how good it actually operates. It does have some things that I don't like about it. So why don't I grab the camera, bring it inside, and show you exactly what those things are. And I'll show you the bunch of features that I discover that I think are good for you to know. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a lot, believe me. But at the end of the day, I think you'll appreciate what I have to show you in here. All right, so coming into the car, you can see this thing is massive. so massive you're not able to see this button here. There's actually a button to go from miles per hour to kilometers. This thing also partially blocks the front vents, and I'm just getting this out the way because these are things that I think that you should assume, or at least you should know that it does before you purchase it. It does not detach. I would love for it to detach because I feel like when I go to places, it's exposed to the public, and if you're not in an area where it's, you know what I mean, nice and secure, it tends to maybe have people peek through the windows, and opportunity for thieves out there to get their hands on this. Yeah, I honestly, the truth has to be said, and not everybody in this world thinks like this, but honestly, this is something that if it's in this car, it's going to draw a lot of attention. Now, as you can see also, there's no physical buttons at all. Everything's touchscreen. And I do wish it did have a physical button because believe me, I feel like it needs it. You know, just one button right here. But then again, I think everybody will know that before getting it. And for those that are not aware, when purchasing screens, usually screens are measured diagonally. So diagonally measuring this thing is about 13.5 inches, okay? However, the actual screen size is 12.3. You'll see it when I turn on the screen that the portion of the screen that lights up is actually 12.3 inches, is about this long over here, 12.3. So just keep that in mind when you're purchasing this. It's not like from this corner to this corner it'll be 12.3 inches. No, it's actually the screen size that's 12.3. So from here to here is 12.3. Now the next one is really a flaw of this design. See, they actually provided the head unit, but they provided the interior trim replacement, and this is not factory obviously, but here's the problem with this, and this is where I'm going to show you right now turning on the unit. So if I power up, if I want to turn my AC on or my heater on, I shouldn't have a problem. If I want to turn my temperature up, I shouldn't have a problem. But if I want to dial down the temperature, look what happens to the button. It stays stuck. And the reason for this is because, let me bring the camera up close. Now, if you see the clearance between these buttons over here and the trim that was provided with the unit, you can see that there's quite a gap. You could probably fit about 2 business cars in there. And then on this side, there's no clearance. There's barely any clearance actually. And this is what happens to the button. It stays stuck. Now, you can actually see that no matter what I do, the button stays stuck on there. So it actually, at the very beginning, it gave me problems because I couldn't even turn on the AC climatronic unit. I had to play with it, and I actually had to push the auto button and dial down the fan and the temperature. And yeah, I think I made my point clear on that. So now, what would I do with that? I mean, luckily with my mechanical expertise, I think what I'm gonna have to do is take this back off and maybe, just maybe, take a heat gun and see if this area right here could maybe soften up, and I'll push it this way so that the gap is a little bit greater and it's not protruding with the function of this button. So these were the physical flaws I found from this, and actually most of them, you know, coming right off before even purchasing that it's going to be this way. Moving on. All right, so when coming into the car, we're going to power up, and then you can see the unit powers up nice and quick. And that's because I just had it on about 5 minutes ago. I'm going to do another test, and I'm going to power down, and then we're going to come back within about half hour. So now we come into the car, and it's been off for a while. I would say maybe like 40 minutes or so, and then we're going to power back up. And you can see the unit starts up fast too, but it's actually connecting to my Apple CarPlay because I have my phone right here. So now this is the main menu of the Apple CarPlay. I'm sure you've seen this. It looks very familiar on all other units. So now let's go to the main home of the unit itself. So you scroll down and just click that home icon, and this is where it's going to bring you. So it's going to bring you to your default widgets section. It's user preference. You can actually change the themes on this however you like. But if you wanted to drag, I have YouTube here, and if you want to make that bigger and just have two widgets, you could do that, right? It looks like it hasn't connected to my Wi-Fi. I don't know why, but let's connect that right now. I don't know why the Wi-Fi is off. Might be a setting. I was playing with the settings earlier. It should just connect automatically to the Wi-Fi. I probably might have did something where I turned the automatic connection off. But YouTube, now that it's connected to the internet, should be coming up. There you go. And these are the YouTube main homepage. And if you wanted to just play a video, let's play a video here. So here we have.
So these are the cables. And here's the jump starter itself.
A typical YouTube video.
Weight very much. Comes with a built-in LED light. And let's see if it comes charged up.
That's full-size screen.
82%. Now inside the box you do get the these. I would call this heavy duty. These are heavy duty jumper cables.
And because of the resolution of the screen, it's not going to stretch it all the way to 12.3 inches. It'll actually just keep it at that aspect ratio. Now, if you don't want YouTube, you could always have whatever you like. You can have the maps, or you can add more widgets if you like. It's totally preference. That's totally your preference. It's totally up to you. And this is actual. This is happening in real time right now, where someone's calling me right now. So I could just decline here. I could decline on my steering wheel, and yeah, that person hung up. So now what we're gonna do is we're back home. And there's just so many things I could show you on here. It literally made the video way too long. But let's just go to the main things. So for example, let's just go ahead and pretend that I have my, I'm not in the Apple CarPlay section, and I wanna go ahead and listen to my podcast or whatever I'm playing on my phone. Remember, my phone's already connected to the unit. I could just go to the this Bluetooth icon music right here, and it'll bring up whatever is playing on my phone. If I go to my podcast section and I'll play
how I define it, these are hobbies on steroids. They are super activities is another cool way to think of them.
I can have my podcast playing on here, and you can see the actual podcast will be like the entire episode title, the remaining minutes on the time remaining on the podcast will play the podcast icon. But I think the reason why that's not playing right now is because it's actually connected to CarPlay right now. So it actually won't show that. I haven't actually tried that particular scenario, but I'm thinking that that's why it happens. You can go to that radio icon right here, and we have radio. You could change your stations. You could oops. So your typical radio menu has FM, AM. This is a stereo mono switch. This thing right here is for you to edit the station name. I didn't even know that was an option, but you could do that. Let's just exit out of that. Again, this thing has so many features. It's unbelievable. The AF, when you turn that on, you'll have like the good signal coming into a station, and if it doesn't see a good signal, then the station will be jump automatically. And then PTY, it'll select the station type for auto search. Now I also have a USB flash drive plugged in, and I'm not going to be using this, but this is just for test purposes so you can see that it actually works. The USB cable that I actually provided, I ran it right to the glove compartment. So my flash drive is right here. I'm going to close the glove compartment, and in order to play that, I'm going to go to this little folder right here, and that'll bring in my USB 3. That's what it's named. And then I actually dropped 2 tracks from the YouTube audio library, and let's see what that sounds like. And you could play it with, it'll give you the apps that it'll play it with. I'm not sure what I should choose here. Let's just go with music and just keep it as always. And then my volume is down. So you can see again the sound quality is so amazing. It's like you went from having speakers from like the 1980s to speakers like brand new speakers right now. Anyways, let me not geek out about that. If we get out of here, we have another track. And that's just all from the YouTube library. So that now, one thing I don't like about this is the volume. And again, this is why I wish they had a knob here, but it doesn't. But if you want to bring the volume down, These are the quick icons in here. You can see that. Okay, but it's not very quick. The other way you could do is bring down this, go to the speaker, and then bring the volume up or down. I find that it's way easier to do the physical button right in my steering wheel right here. So now, as far as settings, there's so much in here. You have it comes factory with a beep. I have that set to turn beep off. This reverse mute switch, I actually turned that off as well, because every time I go onto my backup camera, it would actually cut off on the music. Now these are settings for the navigation. These are settings for the reverse cam. So now let's just go to the Apple CarPlay. To go to the Apple CarPlay, you could just press this button right here and you're in Apple CarPlay. Or from the apps, you could just go to the Z link. It'll bring you back to Apple CarPlay. And again, if you want to go back to the main menu of the unit, you could do that right here. This theme you could also change as well. These are all the apps that come built into the unit itself. So many options here, guys. I mean, I could spend hours talking about this. It's truly amazing. One of the cool things I really love about it, and it actually surprised me, is that, check this out. I'm closing the driver's door and a little car appears, but if I open up the door, you can see the actual door shows that it's open. And if I open the passenger door as well, you can see both doors are open now. Close the passenger, close the driver's. If I open the right rear, it'll show that both doors are open, but it's actually just the right rear. If I open the left rear, same thing, it'll show that both doors are open. But I'd rather have both doors open, both doors open rather than nothing. So that's actually pretty cool. YouTube just works just like it works in your phone. It's actually, if you want to tinker around with YouTube and watch YouTube videos on here, it's pretty cool. It works just like if you're watching it on a tablet.
You get the USB charging port, and it's USB-C.
Now, one thing I should highlight is that when it comes to installing the radio itself, it's not very hard. There's definitely no splicing or no soldering or anything of that kind. It's just plug and play. You just have to know what you're exactly plug in, and you just got to make sure that you order the right one for your exact trim of your Prius. As far as the configuring the unit from the factory, it does take some time, because it does have a learning curve, because I for the almost a week and a half that I've had it, I never experienced any lag. I never experienced any delay on the apps. Nothing got frozen when it was operating. Towards the end of April and mid-June, it's been around 80-90 degrees here, mostly in the 90s. It gets very hot, and while I'm idle and I have my air conditioning on, I don't hear the fans from the radio at all. Probably think it does generate heat, but that doesn't do anything. The chip that is integrated inside is definitely doing its job, because again, the unit does not disappoint at all. Everything you do through it, you just, you open an app and you could get back out of it if you want, and it just works flawlessly. I don't have any complaints about the actual performance of it. However, when it comes to the user interface and user experience, I think it could use a lot of improvement. And one of the things right here from the very homepage, when we're using these widgets, these things right here, in order to make this wider, smaller, like if I mess with it within 5 times, like 3 out of 5 times, I'll end up touching something that I'm not supposed to be touching. Might just be me that I need to get used to it, but that's the thing. This thing right here is pretty cool, because it actually shows the car moving. Even though it's not a Prius, the speedometer is very accurate. It's actually off by 1 mile per hour, but that's it. As far as that, is almost to the dot accurate. And the hardest part that it took me long to set up, which I even had to reach back out to JOYING to ask for directions, because it was kind of confusing, is the CarPlay. I know that most of these units you get nowadays, you want to get the CarPlay working right away. That was one of the things that it was just annoying me, because I'm like, okay, why can I get the CarPlay playing? And the reason is because in the instructions, it tells you that you need to download this Kalos app, or Kolos. They actually misspelled it in the instructions, but it's this Kalos app right here. Once you download that from the App Store, you create a username, password, and you create your own account. Then you have to turn on your Bluetooth, and it has to do with the phone mirroring. I'm like, I don't think this is all necessary, but I'm following these instructions, and sure enough, it just wasn't working at all. And I couldn't tell you how much time I spent on this. I think it's actually on me. I should have just realized that there was something wrong with it, with what I was doing, not with the unit itself, but with what I was doing. And turns out you don't even need this Kalos app. At least I don't. I deleted it off my phone and I don't have it on here. In fact, I could show you right now. I don't. If I hit search right here and I do Kalos, I don't have a Kalos app here. It doesn't show up, this app. I don't have it on my phone. I deleted it. You don't need it. So it turns out that once you pair your phone with the Bluetooth, right? If I go back out to the main unit menu and I go into settings and I go to Bluetooth, again, this thing has dual Bluetooth connectivity. So therefore you're gonna see one device name is Rocola VT and the other one's something called QBT Com or something like that. I'm not real sure about it right now. But once you, so for example, if I'm in Bluetooth and I go here, this little icon that's grayed out, it actually bring up the CarPlay right away. And it was amazing once I figured that out, because I'm like, oh my God, finally. But that's like the only thing that really gave me a tough time setting this thing up once I got it powered up, is the fact that I couldn't get the CarPlay to work. But now it's working and it's great. It's awesome. I could see like myself taking a 3 to 4 hour long trip in this car. Not that this car is any comfortable, but I could see myself driving 3 to 4 hours without actually being bored, because this thing, the fact that it has Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, I don't need to be touching my phone. I could just check my messages from here, make a phone call, go to Maps, go to my podcasts, and it'll bring up all my podcasts, and I could, you know, whatever it is, I could just play it, you know? It really doesn't matter if your phone's near you or if your phone's in your backpack. You could play it all from here as long as the Bluetooth is turned on your phone. It'll connect. No problem with that. I could also use Waze right from here without going on my phone. Whatever other apps that are supported by Apple CarPlay, they're all in here. And I could go on and on and on and talk about the many features that this radio unit has to offer, but then that will carry on for another 45 minutes to an hour. And I think honestly this has been the longest YouTube video I ever uploaded, and that's because I wanted to give you a first-hand experience on what it was to unboxing it, going over the parts, then installing it on there, and just wait about a week or so and then share that experience with you, show you the features that it has to offer, and much more. And a quick disclaimer here, the radio unit used in this review video was provided to me specifically by JOYING. The company did not have any editorial input or oversight into this video. Everything I said and showed was based 100% on my experience. So with that being said, I hope that this video was helpful. I hope it was guideful for you. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some more of my videos, and until the next video, thanks a lot for educating yourself, making progress, and best to you.